How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray and DVD update, 7 pickups, and if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them as well. And first up, we have Get Hard from Warner Brothers, starring 2 of the most overused comedic actors of our time, with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart right there. And I'm honestly not a huge fan of a lot of their movies, especially Kevin Hart's movies. He's had some real stinkers, but I do like his stand-up. And Will Ferrell, he does the kind of similar slapstick comedy in a lot of his movies. My favorite of his comedy movies is Stranger Than Fiction. It's not his typical slapstick kind of comedy. It's a dark comedy movie, and I would highly recommend Stranger Than Fiction. And he recently did a Lifetime movie with Kristen Wiig, so he's trying his hand at dramatic acting as well. And both Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart kind of play similar characters in a lot of the movies that they're in. So I was a little bit skeptical going into this movie, seeing the trailers, but I'm glad I kept an open mind because it does start off a little slow, a little sluggish, a little cliche, but then it really picks up, and they have great chemistry together, and I think that's what really drives this film. And a lot of the supporting cast works well here. You've got T.I., who I think is a great rapper and actor, and Craig T. Nelson, and Alison Brie, and a lot of other recognizable faces in here as well. And this is basically a great formulaic comedy involving Will Ferrell's character, who is a hedge fund manager who gets set up for fraud, and he's going to be sent away to maximum security prison, San Quentin, and so he thinks he's just going to get eaten up alive in prison. So he enlists the help of Kevin Hart to help him get tough for prison, because he assumes that Kevin Hart has been in prison and that he's a thug. And Kevin Hart is giving him basically that face right there when Will Ferrell breaks down why he thinks that way because of statistics. So Kevin Hart kind of goes along with it, pretends he went to that he went to jail and that he's a hardcore guy and real tough and street, and he's going to go along with it because Will Ferrell is going to pay him money to get him ready for prison, and Kevin Hart wants to use that money to start up his own car washing company. And there's some really hilarious scenes in here. There's some over-the-top scenes, like this scene right here they show in the trailer with Will Ferrell getting the bottle stuck in his head. I thought that was a little too much. I didn't really like that scene. And there's a couple scenes like that where it just kind of went too much. But a lot of the scenes really work well. I think, again, the big part of it is the chemistry. The key string scene was hilarious. There's a scene where Will Ferrell has his whole mansion turned into like a makeshift jail by Kevin Hart to kind of get him prepared. And I think that really works as well. Really funny parts with the help from Will Ferrell, like the yard people and the maids and stuff like that. And they're getting in on it. And then T.I. plays Kevin Hart's cousin in here, who actually went to jail. And so he enlists his help to get him ready to. And then there's a scene right here they show in the trailer. There's Will Ferrell right there when he goes to meet them in the actual hood. And he's dressed up like Lil Wayne. And that part was really funny. And the actress who played Shonda, call me. That was hilarious at the end too, when he goes to jail and Shonda comes to visit him. Some great interaction there, especially towards the end with Will Ferrell's character kind of evolving and getting tough. There are some really great moments in here. I was actually really surprised because I laughed out loud several times in here, and I went into it thinking it was just going to be a stereotypical kind of comedy movie with these characters that play themselves in every role that they're in, and it is kind of that way, but it works here. It's popcorn comic entertainment, and I was really surprised by it. And there's some good special features on here as well. This is the Blu-ray DVD digital copy combo pack from Warner Brothers. There's a nice slipcover. There's the back. And I'll put the digital copy off to the side, and here is the Blu-ray and DVD disc. And this has the unrated and theatrical cut on here. So lots more crazy over-the-top scenes that wasn't shown in theaters. And next up from Noah Baumbach is While We Were Young, and this one right here is from Lionsgate. I honestly went into this one thinking I wasn't going to like it as well because I'm not a huge fan of Noah Baumbach. I think a lot of his movies are a little bit pretentious, and this one kind of has that going on too, but I think if you're a Noah Baumbach fan, you'll definitely enjoy this one. And he's worked with Ben Stiller before in Greenberg, which I wasn't a fan of that one at all. And this one has a great supporting cast in here as well. You've got Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts as the leads, and then Adam Driver and Amanda Seyfried as the younger couple, and you've got Charles Grodin in here as well. as Naomi Watts' father character. And basically Ben Stiller plays a documentary filmmaker, and he's showing a class and talking about making documentaries. And Adam Driver's character right there wants to make a documentary of his own, and he goes there and meets him and says he's a fan, and he gets Ben Stiller involved in his work. And basically Ben Stiller and Naomi Watts are in their mid-40s, and they're just kind of going through the cycle. And so when they meet these younger mid-20s couple, kind of invigorates them. They start doing things with them, and while all their older friends are having babies, they're kind of looking at them like they're crazy. They're going drinking like ayahuasca, hallucinogenic tea, going to parties, going to street beaches and things like that, and wearing different like hipster-esque clothing. And so it kind of alienates them from their older friends. And Noah Baumbach did a great job of creating a really hipster environment. It's very believable, and it's kind of a Gen X versus millennial type theme going on here as well. And I like the backdrop of documentary filmmaking as well, what's real, what isn't real, and so that works as well as an arc in here. And by the end of it, you find out there was a whole reason that Adam Driver's character, you know, met Ben Stiller's character. He was trying to get him to get everybody involved. Naomi Watts is a producer, and the father character right there played by Charles Grodin as well, and Ben Stiller too, to get everybody involved to help his film. And so Ben Stiller figures that out and confronts him, and things kind of blow up and get out of hand. And overall, this was a decent movie. This was way better than I was expecting, and probably one of my favorite recent films from Noah Baumbach. And While We're Young is very Woody Allen-esque, and Noah Baumbach does a great job of capturing the city, much like Woody Allen. And all the cast works well together here. I thought they all played their roles very well. And nice slipcover as well. And this is a Blu-ray digital copy combo pack from Lionsgate. Digital copy down here, and that's what the disc artwork looks like. And I definitely do like Ben Stiller as an actor. I think he's very diverse. He's played in all kinds of different roles, and this has a great dramedy going on here, some great comedic moments and some great dramedy as well, great emotional honesty too. Next up from Lionsgate is The Forger, and John Travolta, Christopher Plummer, and Ty Sheridan are the leads, and also has Anson Mount, who deserves to be on the front too. I think he was fantastic in Hell on Wheels, and he's just a great actor in general. I see him in a lot of bit parts in movies lately, and he deserves to be a lead. And he was great in this one as well. John Travolta is a world-class art forger, and he's in jail, and Anson Mount kind of springs him out of jail to help him basically steal a Claude Monet Woman with a Parasol painting from a museum, and then John Travolta is going to forge it and replace it with the forgery. And the only reason he's doing that is to see his son, played by Ty Sheridan, who has terminal cancer, and he's not going to live too much longer. So he's trying to get out of jail to do that, and that's the deal and arrangement that he has. And Christopher Plummer is the father, and he was a con man, so he enlists his help as well. And Ty Sheridan, since he's passing away soon in the future, he has a couple of wishes he wants from his father, and one of them is to work on this heist with John Travolta and Christopher Plummer. And Ty Sheridan is a fantastic young actor. I really enjoyed him in Mud and Joe, and here as well. And this one had some really good drama that I liked. That was the main thing that I think really led it, the family drama aspect. I think the forgery and the heist aspect was kind of secondary, and the interaction between the characters and the family dynamic really worked here. And it says in the back, Travolta's best performance in nearly a decade. I would agree with that. I think his performance was very good here. The only thing that I didn't like about it was the look of his character. He had this little like chin thing hanging down. It wasn't even on the bottom of his chin. It was like underneath by his neck. And it was like this little pointy thing, and it was very distracting. I kept wanting to like cut it off. Like, I get maybe they were trying to do it to make it seem like he was devious to be this heist and con man, but it just kind of took away from the scenes. And sometimes the accents didn't work as well. Like, they're trying to do a Boston accent, but it comes off more like Brooklyn. And there's a scene in particular where a few of them say, "Mudder, meet your mother. I want to meet the mother." And I'm like, really? That's just doesn't work at all. You're trying too hard with it. And that was like just me nitpicking, but that's something that I noticed. And again, I didn't like the little chin hair, neck hair thing going on that he had. But besides that, it worked really well. I was surprised by this one too. And this is a Blu-ray digital copy combo pack, and some good special features on here. And there's the disc artwork. So there we go. And next up from Magnolia is the Wrecking Crew. I was not familiar with the Wrecking Crew before, and they're a band of instrumentalists that have worked on tons of well-known songs and albums during the 60s and 70s. They were the go-to session instrumentalists because they learned the music fast and they could play it well, and they were used over and over routinely, and some of them were paid at the time even more than the president. And I think this is a great documentary for people into music history. And it's directed by Denny Tedesco, who's the son of Tommy Tedesco, one of the lead guitarists in the Wrecking Crew. And I think this was a well done and definitely honors Tommy Tedesco as well as the Wrecking Crew and music history here. It did a great job. It has a mixture of interviews with different famous singers as well as archival footage and an interview that was shot a few years ago by some of the main members of the Wrecking Crew before they passed away, because some of them did pass away. So it was neat to see them then as well in the recent time, and they were still playing then, and so that was pretty cool to see. And there's lots of different scenes in here where they're doing the sessions, working with Frank Sinatra. There's some really interesting tidbits of information, like when Frank Sinatra interrupted Dean Martin right there where he was singing, and he was like, "Come on, Dean, let's go. We're going to go to Vegas." So Dean didn't finish his set there, but a lot of entertaining moments in here, and a lot of insight as well. And it talks about the Wrecking Crew and these instrumentals who were not featured on the album covers. They didn't get the recognition, but they were saying they were okay with it. They took it as a job, and you know, the people that were the artists that were being promoted, they're the ones getting all the credit, even though they did on some albums they did all of the instrumentals. And so that was interesting, and you get an insight to their lives as well, the different members of the Wrecking Crew. Some of them went through divorces that basically took all their money. This one guy went through a mansion in LA with 23 rooms to living in like a little shack, and it took their tolls on their relationships and their real life, and sometimes they didn't spend enough time with their family, but overall you get to learn about music and the history. And again, they've worked with the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, Nat King Cole, Elvis, Dean Martin, the Mamas and the Papas, Phil Spector, Glenn Campbell. And Glenn Campbell was actually one of the members of the Wrecking Crew before he went off to his solo career, and he's actually just doing his farewell tour now, and he has Alzheimer's, so he's going to bring recognition to that as well. And they also worked with the Monkees, Ike and Tina Turner, the Ronettes, Carpenters, Sonny and Cher, Frank Sinatra, the Byrds, the Righteous Brothers, Simon and Garfunkel, Nancy Sinatra, basically tons of people from the 60s and 70s. And this was a great documentary right here, and a fantastic release too. There's over 6 hours of bonus content, and I love that the disc right here looks like a record, very fitting. And then if you take the disc out, it's like liner notes right here for the music credits. And that was one thing that was really impressive too. The soundtrack, unbelievable, and it was really surprising that he was able to get all the rights to the music too. So I can tell this was years in the making, and it was well worth it. Highly recommend this one if you're into music history, and especially rock and pop during the 60s and 70s. Next up from Twilight Time is State of Grace. This is limited to 3,000 copies. This is a masterpiece that is criminally underrated. It's a gangster undercover cop story, and the cast is phenomenal in here. You've got Ed Harris, Gary Oldman, Sean Penn, Robin Wright. You've got John C. Reilly in here, John Turturro, and Ennio Morricone's score was fantastic in here as well. And it's also an isolated track on this for special features, along with audio commentary from director Phil Janot, who also directed 3 O'Clock High, which was an 80s high school bully movie that I loved growing up. And he also did The Gridiron Gang with The Rock, and a short film for The Punisher, Dirty Laundry, starring Thomas Jane, which I highly recommend checking that one out. Fantastic short, and I wish that would have been turned into a full-length movie. But he was fantastic directing-wise in here. Great score, cinematography, acting, great tension in here, and drama. I love all the different interactions right here with the characters. Sean Penn is an undercover cop, and he's basically gonna bust his old friends, including his best friend played by Gary Oldman, and he's kind of torn up about it because he's also involved with his sister, and Ed Harris is also their older brother, and he's the head of the Irish gang, and he's trying to make a deal with the Italian mafia, And this was actually based on the real-life Hell's Kitchen Irish-American gang, the Westies. And I read that a lot of these scenes were taken from actual court testimony. So that's also very interesting. Strong acting performances here, especially from Gary Oldman. He deserved way more recognition for this role, and this is an incredible masterpiece of a movie. If you're into gangster movies, I would definitely recommend this one. If you like movies like Internal Affairs or Departed, check this one out. It kind of reminds me of aspects of those movies, but not quite as explosive, but still well worth the watch. There are some scenes in here that I think are kind of formulaic and predictable. You know how it's gonna kind of play out, but it still works on every level, and it definitely is engaging. And one thing I like too is the effects here. When people get shot, the blood splatter, that really kind of intensifies the scenes. State of Grace is an excellent neo-noir crime thriller, and while everybody plays their part just perfectly, Gary Oldman stands out. He steals the show in every scene that he's in, and he, to me, is one of the best actors of all time, and he is incredible here. And there we go, nice release from Twilight Time. I love the clear case. There is the disc artwork, and I love that they include a booklet as well. Right there, I'll go ahead and flip through some of the booklet. But again, lots of emotional drama of him trying to turn on his friends, and again, he's involved with the sister, and Robin Wright wants to get out of that whole scene and get away from them, but she keeps getting drawn in. Some intense moments in there for sure. Great drama and thrills all throughout. And next up is American Buffalo from Twilight Time right here, and this is also limited to 3,000 copies. There are only 3 characters in this whole film, and this is a very character-driven and dialogue-driven film, dialogue-heavy. It's basically them talking about this heist that they're going to do, a Buffalo nickel that they're trying to steal. And it's Dennis Franz and Dustin Hoffman right there, and this little kid played by Sean Nelson. Those are the 3 characters, and this is a bit of a downer of a movie. If you're looking for a feel-good movie, this isn't it. It's really kind of downtrodden characters, just going through the motions of life and trying to pull off another con and kind of, you know, make it through the next day. Dennis Franz owns this kind of junk store, and it's kind of symbolic for their characters as well. They end up in the shop with things that people don't want, and that's kind of their lives in general. And Dustin Hoffman plays Teach, which is an intense performance in here from him. And this is based on the David Mamet play, and Al Pacino actually played the character of Teach during the play as well. And I could definitely see Pacino doing it as well as Hoffman. They're both eccentric actors and play some really intense roles. And so it's all about trying to steal this coin, and there's some twists and turns, and it's definitely some intense dramatic moments in here. And it's something that's not going to appeal to the mainstream audiences because, again, it's not traditional. It's a dialogue heavy, dramatic pacing, and it's kind of the characters are kind of depressing and downtrodden. But if you're into non-traditional movies with kind of dark comedic and dramatic aspects, I would check this one out. And again, a nice release here from Twilight Time. And I love that they always include the booklet. And this takes place in Chicago. That's the setting for it. There's the disc artwork. And there's a diner that they show in the movie. They don't show the interior of it, but they always show the exterior. And there's the poster artwork. And there's Dennis Franz and Dustin Hoffman. And there's the booklet. And I really appreciate the booklets that Twilight Time includes in these releases. If you're a fan of the film, there's lots of information there as well as shots from the movie. So it's pretty cool. And next up is the lone DVD in the bunch. And this is from Arc Entertainment right here. And this is an action thriller movie. It's about basically organ harvesting. These people wash up on shore on an isolated island in the middle of nowhere, and they can't remember how they got there, and they figure out they were drugged. And the whole idea is to get these people that are healthy and bring them to the island and clean their system out with healthy island living and eating. And basically they'll hunt them down on the island with this kind of like army rangers going there and taking them out one by one, and then harvesting the organs to rich people who need the organs for whatever reason. And the cast here is what really drew me in for this one. Just tons of recognizable faces in here. Jason London, Daryl Hannah, Robert Davi. You've got Natalie Burns, Vinnie Jones, who was awesome in here as like the sergeant right there. Really badass, as always, as Vinnie Jones is. And then you've got Edward Furlong, who plays the creepy role so well in this one and many other films. And you also have Michael Paré and David Keith, too. David Keith plays the surgeon here. And this one right here was kind of uninspired. We've seen the same concept many times over and done better, in my opinion. And the lead actress, Natalie Byrne, she's decent action sequence-wise, not great. And then acting performance-wise is what really drew this movie down. I think this could have benefited from a better lead. Perhaps Gina Carano, who's a great action star, and she's a decent actress as well for those kind of action movies. But another thing that I noticed by Natalie Byrne is her accent kept coming in and out, so it was kind of distracting a bit. And Michael Copon, who's an actor in here, he kind of reminds me of a mixture of Dean Cain meets the guy John from John and Kate Plus 8, I think was the name of the TV show. It was a reality TV show where they had a bunch of kids, and he kind of looks like a mixture of Dean Cain and that guy. I just kept thinking that the whole time. Do they not have it in the budget they get for Dean Cain? They got all these other actors, and they couldn't get Dean Cain. He looks like, you know, just like him essentially, just a little bit off. I was just thinking that the whole time. But he actually did pretty well in here. I thought he was acting, kind of balanced out the poor acting from Natalie Byrne right there. That was the biggest detraction here of it, was just kind of cliche moments all throughout. Nothing that we haven't seen before, nothing that really stood out. And then Natalie Byrne wasn't that great acting-wise, and that really took away from it. I think this is average at best. Again, the main reason to check this one out are all the actors in here. They do play their roles very well, the ones that have been around for a while that are established actors. But next slipcover from Arc Entertainment. And this is DVD only. And there is the disc artwork. And some of the effects too for the gunshots and things like that are, you know, like they use CGI gunshot, and some of that is, I'm not a big fan of that really. And some of the action sequences could have been a little bit better. But overall, what you go in to check this movie out are all the different actors in here that you know and that you've heard before. But again, I think this is a paycheck movie for those actors because, like I said, average at best. Again, it's something that we've seen before. And I do love the look to the cover there, especially with the island with the skull right there. It would have been neat if that was actually in the movie, which it isn't. But it's just kind of, you know, foreboding, showing that, you know, people are going to get killed and hunted down. And on the back it says, the only way off this island is in a body bag. Dun dun dun. But again, this one I couldn't give a big recommendation to. Average at best. But there you go. Those are my 7 Blu-ray and DVD pickups. If you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them as well. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.